some of my students, the primary way I communicate with them, because they will not answer phone calls.
Okay.
And so if I call them, I'll then send them a data and design SMS message to make sure that they got it. And I'll warn them ahead of time in the voicemail in case they check the voicemail, which they might not. You'll be getting a message from, it will say, not from me, but from data and design, or from whoever, and I'll make sure to include the introduction so they can see it's from me to start, but then I'll start removing the introduction as I get the conversation flowing.
Oh, you can?
Yes.
Because one of our staff members asked me if you could do that, and I was like,
Yes, you can mask the introduction
oh.
once you have a conversation started. You can actually even do it right at the beginning. I like to keep it at the beginning just so that way kids know this isn't a spam of somebody pretending to be me because
Right.
they're used to my other number.
Right.
Because it specifically says this message is from your teacher, da 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 da, and then after that it can just
Yeah.
be removed. So that's actually how I'm contacting a good portion of my students, especially now. Now there are some that won't respond either way, because it's not a simple text that they can just like or thumbs up or thumbs down. They're still not responding there, but they at least acknowledge that they're getting the appointments through data and design, which is my primary at the moment, even more so than even communicating and attendance, is reminding students of their weekly appointments. And that's where I've also seen the most success, is using it in that way.
Okay. So, you know, I wanted to talk about the results that we've seen since doing this. All of this started, the reason we started meeting was to talk about how to engage parents more. And so initially we had talked about doing home visits as a way to engage parents. And so at that time, our ADA, if you look at page 2, was 76%. Okay, so then we started doing some home visits and we actually went down to 64%. So when you look at just these numbers, it didn't help us.
Correct.
When you look at the individual students who we were able to talk to, which was maybe like 1 out of 10 kids that we actually got a hold of, for them it mattered. But in the big picture, it didn't really matter. So LP7 is when we started trying data and design. We were still at 64%. And now at the end of LP8, we're at 77%.
And I can see how for LP7 it's because we were still learning how to properly use data and design. Because we didn't even really get the training as to how to use the appointments until later into LP7.
Yes.
Right.
And then with the report card crunch and everything else, a lot of us didn't implement that because that took time. And so I can see from the numbers that, okay, it did actually start showing some progress here in LP8.
Yeah. So then I guess I want to ask, do we want to still keep using it?
I don't.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, considering we even went higher than we were before this entire meeting, because in LP5 we were at 76,
Yeah.
and now we're all the way up to 77.
Right.
I can only imagine as we get used to more and more the actual efficiency of data design, hopefully seeing that number continue to rise. Now, I'm not saying skyrocket up to 100, but at least a steady increase, especially as more and more staff members use them.
Yeah.
Stay in the 80s at least.
Yes.
That-
Right.
Especially
Like
as a
kind of like
site
how
as a
we
whole,
used
that would
to.
be great.
Yeah. So the other data that I pulled for us to look at is our list of ones. One of the things that the principal has been talking about is how do we get those kids who turned in 1 credit to move them up to 2, and then eventually 3, 4, you know, we keep going. But this is the list of ones.
Of LP8?
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we think that data and design would help us with connecting with these kids? Do we think that we could get them from 1 to 2 for LP9?
I think for, at least for my kids, I could probably see increase with maybe 3 of them, because a couple of my students who are on here, they usually turn in 3, 4, 5.
Oh, it was just
6.
a fluke.
It was just a fluke.
Oh.
The other, like, 2, one of them was a Mr. Wise student, and she hadn't been in since last school year, and I finally got her to come in. So that's like a whole new relationship that I'm trying to like build up, and she didn't take any work with her. Like, she was literally in, out,